to the Efed Podcast, the podcast exploring our fantasy wrestling hobby, where the wrestling is written, but the characters are real.
Welcome back to Efed Podcast, episode 67. I'm excited to be here, your host, Mikey Unlikely, joined, as always, by Brian, producer of the show. Brian, how you doing today, bro?
I'm doing quite fine. How about yourself, sir?
I'm doing great, having a great night. Hope everybody's enjoying their St. Patrick's Day this evening.
Yes, green beers and drunkenness rampant in the streets.
I told the Discord, hey, I'm feeling a little rough from last night, Brian, when we recorded with Paul. But, here it is St. Patrick's Day, so I guess you got to take one for the team.
Yeah, last night was apparently St. Paul's Day.
There's a lot of truth to that, and you guys are going to hear all about it here today on the show. I'm excited to bring it to you. It was a great interview. Had a great time. And, of course, we're going to try to put up the video side of things over on the Patreon, patreon.com/Efed Podcast.
.com/Efed Podcast.
We did record it in video last night, so this is our first attempt at it. It's maybe a little choppy, but, hey, it's we're going to give it a shot, see how you guys like it.
Yeah, why not? And it was a great interview. Paul is entertaining as ever. Just as his writing always was, he is that in person as well.
Absolutely. And Brian, you actually got to sit in on the interview for the first time.
First time.
Big surprise. Surprise run in.
There you go.
I like it.
Somebody stop the damn match.
Not only that, but we got on the spotlight today, Jet and Law, the two feds in one. We're going to talk about that. It's a fun angle fed centered around Joshi wrestling.
Ooh, I'm very interested to hear all about law and attorneys and whatnot and how they deal with the law that particularly pertains to jets. Like airplane jets. Yeah.
Womp, womp, womp. All right, and we're going to talk about Jet and Law today on the show. I'm excited about that. Question of the week this week. Brian, insert your character into WrestleMania 17. Who are they facing and why? Note, you can only use wrestlers on the card. We're going to talk about that, and we got a lot of answers. I was surprised.
Oh.
And we're going to ask you, Brian, when we get to the question of the week segment.
Word up.
Of course, guys, you can find Efed Podcast on Twitter at the Efed Podcast, on Facebook at the Efed Podcast, over on YouTube, the Efed Podcast. Just put it to search. And patreon.com/Efed Podcast.
.com/Efed Podcast.
Of course, we've also got efedpodcast.com.
.com.
And finally, of course, don't forget our sponsors, EWTs, Brian and I's Creation. If you want to get merchandise for your wrestler, your fed, your tag team, your stable, whatever it is, check us out, EWTs.com.
And anyone out there who has put in a request for a shirt, just know we've been slammed, and I'm going to get to you as soon as humanly possible.
Yeah, so keep us in your thoughts and prayers because we just got slammed. So we appreciate everyone's orders. We appreciate your patience. We are going to get to you. Just please allow us to get through our backlog.
Indeed.
All right, guys, here we go with the show. Check out a word from our sponsors, and happy St. Patrick's Day. All right, guys, it's time for the Efed Podcast question of the week. We're excited to bring it to you. This week is insert your character into the WrestleMania 17 card. Who are you facing and why? Note, you can only use wrestlers already booked on the card. Brian, before we get into the audience answers, we're going to ask you, WrestleMania 17, who are you facing and why?
And
Scott Douglas.
Got to be that character or any character?
No, any character.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to jump back to I use this term very loosely, my legacy character. Kevin K9 Watson, last CSWA Greensboro champion ever. Thank you very much. And longest running because the Fed shut down and I'm still counting those days. And but given this card, man, this is not one I've watched. So like looking at this card, how many people here? It's so crazy. So it's the perfect storm. I'd have to have Kevin Watson go against the two people I stole him from in Taz and Raven in a triple threat match.
There you go. I like how you pulled them from different stuff. That's kind of cool, though. It's like an ECW match throwing in your character.
Exactly.
So I can't argue with that.
It's the ripoff versus the originals.
The ripoff. They're just going to beat the shit out of you for ripping them off.
Exactly.
And so when it comes to Mikey Unlikely, I guess I got to go with when it comes down to, I love Test, and I love the big boot. I loved his intensity, and just somehow just didn't get past that ceiling. So it's unfortunate, but I'd like to face Test and beat him at WrestleMania 17.
Oh, very interesting choice. Very interesting wording that Test just didn't get past.
That's right. Hashtag Test pick base.
Pound sign.
Pound sign.
Call back to last week. It's a pound sign, damn it.
/ All right.
Not a thing.
Question of the week, WrestleMania 17 card, insert your character and why. Brian, who we got up first on the Twitter machine?
First up is Callaway. He is at Callaweezy2220.
Tough call. Ego says I'd face The Rock in the main event, but I'd be okay against Eddie Guerrero for the European title.
Hold up.
Good choices.
Ego says you go in the main event, but you'll settle for Eddie Guerrero?
He'd be all right with it.
Who wouldn't?
Yeah, good picks.
Next up, Shadow Dar at Real Shadow Dar.
Versus China, me and her would put on a good match.
Ooh, there you go.
I like it. Unfortunately for, the female handlers, there's not as many female wrestlers to choose from, but there's still some interesting matchups there.
I never really saw China work like that. Was she any good?
Work like what?
Like, I was gone by the time she wrestled.
Oh, yeah, no, not in my opinion. She did like a cartwheel, a back elbow, kind of like a Tajiri move.
Mm-hmm.
But and she would ragdoll a lot of the female wrestlers and slam them, but she wanted to wrestle the men a lot.
Ooh.
And she had feuds with like Chris Jericho, with like Hardcore Holly, people like that. And they would put her in all these matches with guys. And it was interesting because obviously, as you and I saw in 1997, she was big and buff, and she was the guys would take bumps for her.
Yeah, indeed. And then you can see in that progression of 97, like where she goes from incredibly camera shy to slowly warming up.
Oh yeah, and by the end, don't get me wrong, she was a star, but things just didn't work out.
As they do and or don't sometimes. Well, up next, still on Twitter, Philippe Lego at Armenian at Armenian Beast.
The Deju Bootin. I can't even say it.
Are these Deja Bootin?
Yes, the Deja Bootin. This guy's going to make me do it for all of these. The Deja Bootin Beast in a triple threat match with China and Ivory. She goes in a way too eager, and they pound her into a pulp. She has a brief resurgence and actually pins China, only to get flung clear out of the ring, where she spends the rest of the match hugging the concrete.
He gave us the whole blow by blow there.
That's absolutely. I don't mind. Hey, that's why you got 280 characters. Give us the detail.
There you go. I didn't know they raised it. Anyhow, back to the Armenian Beast once again.
The Armenian Beast versus Taker. Much of the ringside area will be destroyed. Taker hits Beast with the Spanish announce table, and Beast returns the favor with part of the barricade. Beast knocks Taker out with a beard to the face, but Taker does a sit-up and tombstones Beast for the win.
Oh.
There you go.
I mean, as many characters as we know this handler has, he might be booking the whole show. So up next, it's at Armenian Beast.
The Costa Rican Beast versus Benoit. Diego starts out showboating, but Benoit soon makes him regret it. They brawl like madmen, and the match ends in a double DQ.
There you go.
He's going with different endings for every match, too.
Yeah. Up next, at Armenian Beast.
The Bhutanese Beast versus Regal. In a peon versus nobleman themed match. The Regal dominates for most of the match, but Tenzin refuses to stay down and eventually gets Regal in a sleeper to take the match.
Oh, okay.
There you go. 4 different matches from at Armenian Beast on Twitter.
Only thing he's missing is about 12 more characters to have the gimmick battle royal. Up next, the Memphis Mouthpiece, Tommy Love at Memphis Tommy.
The gimmick battle royal. I'd crack the Iron Sheik so hard with my love stick that the only word he'd ever be able to say again was jabroni. Oh, wait.
I see what you did there.
I like it, yeah.
That's good stuff. Up next, Mac Bain at Bain_Mac.
Mac Bain versus Triple H. It's all about the game and how you play it, Brian.
I've heard that. Can't remember where, but I have heard that. I think the key to playing the game correctly, though, is in how you disperse water from the mouth.
Up next,
Sanji Haimura at Sanji Nakamura. You would make me say it twice. Thanks.
Tough call as well. I'd be fine with challenging Test for the European Championship. I like it. But I would be okay with facing William Regal. He'll settle for William Regal.
yeah, he'll settle. He'll settle for Regal.
I like it. Regal will make you regret those words.
I think it's interesting already. We've got two for Test.
Yep, I like it.
Up next, Sam Titanus Hamilton at Titanus Sam.
Either Triple H or Stone Cold. Triple H to see whose pedigree is better, and Stone Cold because two badasses with similar attitudes equal money. Hell yeah.
Can I get a hell yeah? So up next, still on Twitter, Queen of Strong Smile at Penelope Bam.
I would say the Triple Threat TLC 2 match. Lita was always my favorite diva from the era, so that would be crazy cool. I'd replace Rhino and team with Edge and Christian so they could go at it. Entirely too much talent in the match. Hard to argue. Those matches were crazy. Brian, have you ever seen the TLC matches?
I have. I have. Not when they happened or whatever, obviously, but yeah, I went back and I don't know. Honestly, I don't know if I sat through the whole things, but I've seen the bulk.
Yeah,
they're bananas and they kind of scare me.
Imagine what happens today.
Hey, up next, Chris Spade at UWF. Chris Spade.
Tough one. I'm going to say the role of Chris Jericho against regular Spade's first pick base was Jericho. I took a lot of Jericho promo style for Chris. I can also see myself in the role of Jeff Hardy in TLC.
So it his first pick would kind of be like if you're playing Mortal Kombat or Street Fighter and you both pick the same character, but just different outfits.
I think he's saying he would step into the role of Chris Jericho. So instead of saying who he's going to face, he's saying who he's going to replace.
He would go back to his first pick base to face Jeff Hardy's. So it'd be more of a Jericho versus Hardy. I got you. I put it together. Up next, Rooster number run of 21 at JVD Rooster.
Angle, Benoit, Vanderroost. No gimmicks, just wrestling. Angle can go over, but 15 minutes would be stretched to 25 or 30.
Bunch of rest holds. I hear you.
Suplexes and rest holds.
Yep. But what more could we ask for, really? Up next, still on Twitter, we're going to JC. You can find him on Twitter at The Answer JC.
JC then, since he was active at the time, probably would have been mixing it up with Jericho and Regal. If JC now were around then, he'd be trading submissions with Kurt Angle.
More rest holds.
Jericho, Regal, and Angle, that's just like your Mount Rushmore of technical wrestlers.
There you go. Keeping it moving, Connor Fuse at Fireflower Fuse.
Fuse Bros versus Edge and Christian. I'm like a mini little Christian, and my big brother Tyler can battle Edge. Also, I heard my friend Gage Blackwood wants Kurt Angle and Chris Benoit in a triple threat since he wrestles like them. I like how he did that in character.
I despise how he did that in character. Bye, Roland.
Hi, Roland. Hi, Paul.
Whole lot more of that coming up. Up next, Darren Matthews at Darren A. Matthews.
At Matt Hardy brand, we're fighting in a ladder match for the rights to the big money gimmick.
Oh.
You love to see it, Christy. Of course, Darren Zion challenged Matt Hardy to a match here on the show some few weeks ago.
And as a follow-up, have we heard anything back?
Matt's not returned any of his tweets, I believe.
And when the Efed Podcast, with all our journalistic integrity, reached out to Matt Hardy, they declined to comment.
Yeah, declined. Our message was not returned.
Or sent. But anyway, moving on. Next up, Griffin Hawkins at Whammy Bar.
Griffin versus Jericho versus Regal in a triple threat match for the Intercontinental title. Another fan of the technical arts.
Indeed. That'd be a hell of
a lot of them. I mean, listen, this card is stacked from top to bottom. It's hard to go wrong.
Yeah, it's pretty much your who's who, WWF, WCW, and ECW, all crammed into one show. So up next, Mark the Dragon Cross. Unleash Z Dragon.
The Undertaker versus Cross. After a hard-fought battle, the plucky Brit would go down swinging and take his Tombstone Piledriver like the champ, extending the streak. I like it.
Hey, it's WrestleMania. I mean, you
don't beat the Undertaker.
Yeah, only a fool would try to beat the Undertaker at WrestleMania.
Why would you want to face him then if you know you're losing?
It's a prestige move.
Okay.
I mean, look, there's only one that's ever done it twice, and he did it the best. If any reason not to, that's the reason. Up next, El Diablo Blanco at Diablo Blanco PW.
Gimmick Battle Royal, lasting 3 seconds and being eliminated by Brother Love. I love you.
Up next, Eoin.
Sure.
Eoin O'Rourke at Irish Fella Libby.
Eoin O'Rourke versus Steven Richards. Listen, someone had to end the reign of terror that was the RTC. May as well be me. I like that.
I'd have to agree with that one. Up next, mediocre wrestler at A55_H01E.
Definitely the hardcore title match, 100%.
Oh, and that was Raven and Kane and Big Show.
And Big Show. Yep.
All
there's
right.
There's a bit in there where they end up in a golf cart. It's weird.
That sounds horrible. Up next, Brett Daniels at Daniels_Brett.
Versus Triple H. Think a hell of a story could be told there. Again, that's 2 for Triple H.
Oh, 2.
Or 2 or 3. Yeah. We're hearing a lot of Triple H. We're hearing a lot of Kurt Angle, Benoit. Hearing a lot of Jericho, William Regal, Kurt Angle.
We're hearing a surprising amount of Test.
It's a shame D'Lo wasn't on the card, is all I'm saying.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, let's not go there because we know who really could have been on the card. The show stopper. Anyhow, up next, Dave's characters at Dave's characters.
May as well do it for all of my active characters. Crystal, Ari, and Jesse versus Chyna in a 1-on-3 match.
Oh.
And Caleb Storms versus Guerrero for the European title.
There you go. See a lot of Guerrero. That's a couple for Chyna already.
Yeah, maybe you can even combine them, make it 4-on-2 with Latino Heat and Chyna because they were a thing for many. They were a very, very entertaining couple for many years.
Lie, steal, cheat, and
lie, cheat, and steal.
Do anabolic steroids. Latino Heat.
Hey now. You got to get to the world title somehow. Over on the Discord side of things.
Hey, first up, EWT's best customer. It's Meg.
It's Meg. Plays My Way by Limp Bizkit. Brittany Helms versus Shane McMahon. Looking at that match with him and Vince, that was brutal. KPN versus Chyna, 2 women of power. And Anya Coyle versus William Regal.
Oh, I like that.
Go. Shane McMahon's the new one.
I like that she scored her answer.
Yeah. She's got My Way by Limp Bizkit playing in the background. I like it. Setting the mood.
So up next, to be fired, it's Cat Pasadena.
It's his birthday, Brian.
Oh, happy birthday. And you're fired.
That'd be the worst day ever. Since the scrappy brawler, working class hero versus the arrogant, snobby technician is a classic story, Cassidy versus Regal. Regal with another vote.
Regal's got quite a few so far.
Yeah, he might be the leader.
Up next, former sponsor, good friend of the show, John Thompson from TW Combat.
John Thompson and the APA versus Right to Censor. I say it because John is known as he would appear at WrestleMania, but not established enough as a wrestler to get one-on-one match. So the obvious solution would be to take Taz's spot in the 6-man.
Look,
gotta stay humble, man.
Look, I'm humble enough to know my character is not going to main event WrestleMania, but
if I can just get on the card,
but he can move that double Z Taz right out of there. Says a lot to what one Z can do to a man. Up next, that mask guy.
He would have faced the Undertaker.
Apparently so.
Quick, simple, to the point.
We don't know if he wins, he loses. Maybe he breaks the streak.
Oh, maybe they time limit draw.
Oh,
that'd be awful.
Broadway. Up next, Seth is Burns
Oscar Burns versus Kurt Angle, because technical masterclass right there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'd love to see that. The Sky High Titans versus X Factor on the no. The what?
The pre-shot. No.
Oh, I see. Okay. Sky High Titans versus X Factor on the pre-shot. No.
Mm-hmm.
Sky High Titans in a TLC match. You're dealing with the X Factor.
Titans, ladders, and chairs.
Titans, ladders, and chairs. There you go. Coming soon to Defiance.
Whoa, hold on. Let's not get crazy. Speaking of crazy, up next, Warren, MDG, modern day gladiators, Warren.
Warren says most would take Deacon versus Undertaker, but I'd be more into Angle versus Deacon. Hypocritical, 3 eyes Angle against a solid Deacon, especially in 2001 at the top of his game, would have been gold. The LE from the RWR would be harder, but I'd break up the TLC and make the Dudleys learn tag team wrestling against the greatest tag team in history. Just ask the LE all about it.
The Lunar Express.
There you go.
I would take Deacon versus Taker as well, especially was Taker doing that horrible rolling gimmick yet?
I want to say yes.
Yeah. So Deacon should have showed up and showed him how to take her.
Taught him how to take her. I like it.
And to finish this off, the last answer to the question of the week from the Discord. If you're not there, you should be. If you don't know where it is, find out. And it's from Irwin109.
Irwin from New Extremes Wrestling. He says right to censor versus Magnum Opus.
I mean,
there you go. RTC got an alarming number of those.
I'm about to say, would any of us argue that right to censor from a story standpoint was not a magnum opus within itself?
You'd love to see it, guys. Thanks for answering the question of the week this week. Of course, you can check it out over on the Twitter machine at the Efed Podcast, pinned to the top of the profile. And, of course, also on the Discord in the hashtag question of the week thread. You can answer it there if you don't want to be limited to 280 characters.
And anyone who wants to pay more attention than we just did, someone do a tally and figure out the top 5.
There you go. And we'll post it up on Twitter. All right, guys. Thanks for answering the question of the week. Go answer this week's for the next show.
Are you ready to take this to the next level? I said, are you ready to take this to the next level? This is Darren, handler named Darren Scion, and this is the Efed Podcast.
Now it's time for the Efed Podcast Spotlight. This is where we put a spotlight on a Fed that's out there, tell you a little bit about them, see if there's something you want to check out. Brian, this week on the show, we got Jet and Law. It's the double Feds in one. And they are an Angle Fed, and we're going to talk about them here today. I'm excited to talk about them. Found them over at the Efed Hub on Discord. If you're not there, you need to be. Ask somebody. They can get you hooked up at the Efed Hub. Good place to find a bunch of Feds.
100%. I'm very interested. The double Fed, the Angle, that sounds... very interesting. How does this Fed operate? How do these Feds operate within their alliance?
So the Law Jet Alliance Network is composed of a working relationship between 2 women's promotions. The Lethal Angels of Wrestling, or Law, is an American promotion based out of Los Angeles, and Joshi Extreme Takeover Jet is a Joshi promotion based out of Tokyo, Japan. The relationship is similar to Ring of Honor and New Japan during the 2010s, and more recently AEW's women division with TJPW.
Very nice. And you cover this as angled, so we always love to see a good Angle Fed out here.
Absolutely.
How often are there shows? What's the schedule like? Shows and pay-per-views?
So they're on a bi-weekly schedule with pay-per-view every 2 to 3 months, much like we are, Brian.
Oh, good schedule.
Crossover pay-per-views are held once or twice a season. So Now, of course, each Fed has their own pay-per-views. They have their own championships. They have their own events. But then once or twice a year, they get together and have these big mega events.
That's awesome. Obviously, as we know, that's a pretty good schedule. And then on top of that, you pepper in a little bit of the extra for the crossovers, which I'm sure then when you go back to regular schedule spins off all kinds of other storylines based on what happened on the crossovers.
Absolutely, yeah. You can take a bunch of different directions. Maybe some wrestlers come from one Fed to the next. Who knows?
Yeah, that's interesting.
So you can do with that.
So as we always talk about, the important thing, which I mean angled, so probably a little different here, but what rules and or more importantly, word limits are we looking at?
So the results are decided by staff, but a person's push is increased through participating in the Fed through segments, Twitter stuff, helping out with the overall growth of the community. Handlers are allowed up to 3 characters per promotion for a total of 6 characters.
Oh, see, that's even more interesting element that you can handle in both.
Yeah, at the same time, and do with different characters. It's kind of a cool concept. And like we said, angle, but people are pushed through participation. It's like most angle Feds.
Yeah,
the more you promote and play together, obviously, the more push you're going to get.
Yep. Well, when you remove the competition element from it, obviously that's the best way to go. Who's being most active? Who is moving this thing forward?
Absolutely.
So let's talk championships.
So each Fed has their own championships. Over in Law, they have the Lethal Angel Championship. That's the top one. The Lethal Specialist Championship, the Lethal American Championship, and the Tag Team Championships.
Ooh.
Over on the Jet side of things, they've got the World Championship, the Jet National Championship, the Jet Academy Championship, and the Jet Tag Team Championship.
Very nice. Well, and as we do about this time, in no specific order, how about 10 wrestlers, top 10, so to speak?
Brian, I hope you get the Joshis. Here we go.
Oh, man.
Kayla Winters.
Junko.
Roxy.
Midori Miyamoto.
Sydney St. Clair.
Mizuki Nakata.
Jessica Hendricks.
Izumi. IZM.
April Song.
Sayako.
There you go. You did get all the Joshis. I didn't plan that, but that worked out great.
I mean, how does that work? You got all the American names.
Well, obviously they took turns going back and forth with the Feds. You love to see it, Christy. It worked out well.
I hate to see it, Christy, do better.
Everybody other than us is like, who's Christy? Obviously you've got a lot of good stars here. You've got women's wrestlers of the American variety. You've got all of the Joshi variety. And it's cool how they interact. And you have both, each world is so different between American and Japanese wrestling.
Obviously, between Roxy and Mizuki Nakata.
So where you can find these Feds, of course, they are separated over on Twitter at LAW_LadiesPro and at PW_JET. On the website, you're going to go to the lawjetalliance.boards.net. .boards.net. And it looks like they've got a pretty healthy roster right now, Brian, of a combined, 72 people.
Oh, wow. Yeah. 33 over at Law and 39 at Jet. That, for an angle Fed in these days and times, that is highly impressive.
That's very strong. Yeah, absolutely. So finally, Brian, Jet and Law are part of an extended alliance of mostly women's promotions under the umbrella of the International Joshi Wrestling Foundation. The umbrella has its own set of titles that can be competed for through interpromotional matches. Jet Law also share continuity with promotions such as OWA, Wrestle World, and SSW. Our goal is to create a massive MCU-like universe where storylines and characters of other Feds are referenced to create a bigger, thriving world. Jet is also one of the longest-running, publicly known active Joshi promotions coming into its 4th season.
Wow. I mean, yeah, if you're
Very impressive.
if you're going for the MCU like universe, you've got that much interaction already. 4 seasons, I'd say you're there. Just keep it going.
You're doing great. You've got many characters in your feds, and then you're interacting with other feds. So you like to see it.
You do
Brian.
like to see it.
Guys, Jet Law, check them out on Twitter at law_ladiespro, at PW_jet, online at lawjetalliance.boards.net.
.boards.net.
All right, guys, welcome back to another edition of the Efed Podcast interview series. I'm Mikey Unlikely, and for the first time, you're seeing me on video, joined by Paul. Hi, Paul.
Mikey, what's going on, man? You caught me mid-gulp.
Mid-gulp?
I gotta be honest with you, you're not the first.
I caught you mid-gulp. I caught you here on the podcast. We're excited to have you.
Thanks,
you
man.
played Havoc. You played Cyrus Blackshire, Max Blackshire, Ice Tray, and the Masked Violators in Defiance. I'm excited to talk to you here today. My professionalism, I'm using my phone, as you can see here on the Skype call.
Right. That's fine. See, you get to see it all, guys. For all you Patreon viewers who are shelling out those big bucks, you get to see behind the curtain now. I like to think this is my innovation. I'm bringing this to you. Congratulations.
You are.
To you.
You are. And if not, if you're not on Patreon, you're just hearing the audio version, you can check it out over at patreon.com/Efed Podcast. All right, guys, we're going to get started. Paul, I'm excited to have you on. I got Brian here, as you can hear as well, on the interview for once. Excited to have Brian join us. He's a good friend of yours and a longtime buddy.
Yep.
So, Brian, welcome to the interview for the first time.
Hey.
A lot of firsts tonight, boys. A lot of firsts.
We're breaking ground. I like it.
I love it. I want to say, before we dive into it, I want to say how ridiculous it is that this conversation is even happening. Not only have I not been, like, for everybody tuning in and like, who's Paul Brisbane? I get it. My family wonders the same thing. But, well, like, the fact I haven't been involved. When did I leave Defiance? 2 years ago? Maybe 3 years ago? I was there for a cup of coffee.
Yeah.
And a cinnamon roll, by the way, which is delicious. But like, the fact that I was even asked to do this a year ago, I think it was about a year ago, you reached out to me and you're like, hey, man, you should be on here. It's completely ridiculous. I think you made a horrible mistake. Carry on.
No, I'm glad you're here. You obviously, we became friends. You were a listener of me and Brian's first podcast, Atomic Dropcast. That's where the Hi Paul became famous. And it's now your username there on the Discord, so we appreciate that. It's good banter, man. We appreciate you jumping on. Obviously, you were in Defiance. That's where I met you. But actually, it was many people on our Discord who suggested, hey, find Brisbane, get him on the show. You got everybody from your past.
I'm like Waldo.
Where is he? Get him back. So we found him. We found Waldo, and we got him here on the show, and we're excited to bring it to you guys. So let's start at the beginning, Paul. How did you get into pro wrestling?
Oh man, I guess the beginning for me, it was the Hulkamania era. It started, I think, Saturday night's main event. My dad would have that on. He wasn't a wrestling fan, but it was Saturday night. He would normally put on Saturday Night Live. Here's this wrestling. I'll watch it. It's stupid. Well, I'll watch it. But me and my older brother were like enamored by it. I'm like, this is crazy. Like, these guys are fighting and they're friends. They're friends. Why would, so we were like blown away by just the theatrical aspect of it. And then it's superstars, every weekend. And, that for me, it was the 80s. It was the 80s. Yeah.
So you fell in love with the 80s. You fell in love with Hulkamania. It was running wild there for Paul.
I wasn't a huge Hulk guy. I always kind of did Hulk. No. But I was Macho Man through and through. Macho. I was always like, well, of course, like, leave Elizabeth alone, Hulk. She belongs to Randy. No, right? I don't like it. So I was very much a Macho Man guy, and then you get into like the new generation, and for me it was Bret Hart, I was a Bret Hart guy, and actually Brian and I have talked about this a lot. He was a Sean guy. Yeah.
Fuck you, Brian. I finally found a teammate.
Well, I mean, what
Yes.
translation, folks? What he's saying is Brian was right. They're both wrong.
I don't think that's
Majority rules.
I mean, listen, because Bret, what I liked about Bret was he seemed authentic, and everything he did, Bret was not flashy. And Brian's nodding his head. Bret was not charismatic. Brian's nodding his head. But Bret made everything. You believed everything Bret did. You believed everything Bret said. And Bret Hart for me was big. And then like moving on, it was Kevin Nash, the NWO. Fuck. Nice. Like all that. Like, yeah. It's like, I was a kid during all that, like I was, you guys were kids. We were all kids. We were all children.
So you switched from WWF to WCW.
Yeah. WWF was stupid and WCW looked edgy. And listen, Doink the Clown. How many times can I see Doink the Clown? It's adorable. And like, listen, I'll go to an independent show and I'll see a Doink-like performance. But like, I wanted like the reason I liked Bret was he seemed real. And when you turned on Nitro, it felt a little bit more real to me and interesting. And then, Kevin Nash coming over and Scott Hall, obviously, and Hogan joining it annoyed me. But like that whole, that moment, all of that stuff. And then that's when Raw got good, right? As we all know. You guys have covered it on your atomicdropcast.com.
Hey. I don't need y'all stealing my gimmick.
I know. I owe you like $30 for that. Money well spent. It felt great. But then WWF got good at D-Generation X, and like that was the time when I found fantasy wrestling. It was that period where who wouldn't want to be those cool dudes strutting to the ring? Mm-hmm. Who wouldn't want to do that? And that's kind of where it kind of stemmed from.
So before you get into e-wrestling, give me a Mount Rushmore. Give me your top 4 favorite wrestlers all time.
I heard Jamar do this. I listened to Jamar today.
Great interview.
I listened to his interview. It was posted today. And I got to say, like, he cast a long shadow. But on the Mount Rushmore, for me, it's probably going to be, I think you have to have Hogan in there just because of his impact on so many things. And I've come to appreciate that more than his work necessarily. Bret Hart is on there for me.
Yes.
I was waiting for Brian to explode. I think Steve Austin, Ric Flair.
Ooh. There you go.
Boom. Yeah.
You finish. Yeah. At least you finish strong.
And I agree. I want to point out now that I've interacted with Bret Hart, and he's kind of a dick.
That's all I'm saying.
I'm not mad at
that. No. Today
he's a good heel, is what you're saying.
No, he's bitter and he's sad, and it's really sad.
So bitter.
Is there an echo in here?
Not to go off on cut that out. Not to go off on a tangent, but like I was doing a live broadcast from an independent wrestling show in upstate New York, and Bret was there, and he was going to appear, and he was great. And I watched him walk in. We're setting up, we're running cables, and we're getting the soundboard all set. And he comes walking in, shuffles in on his phone, kind of looks like he just looked like a sad person. Later on, halfway through the show, one of the wrestlers comes up to me, middle of the show. Hey, dude, if you want, I can get you 10 minutes with Bret Hart, like one-on-one. And I'm like, no. I'm good. I'm good.
Never meet your heroes.
Never meet your heroes, man. Seriously, Brian. Like it would have been really depressing. And I would have been in there. I know it. I would have been in there for 2 minutes and been like, how do I get out of this room?
Yeah.
How do I get out of this room? Anyway,
that sucks.
Well, I hated Bret Hart during the Attitude Era for the right reasons, because he was the heel I was supposed to. Later in life, when we were
hated him.
When we were doing the Atomic Dropcast, I'd seen too much, and you're bitter Bret. I mean,
right. Yeah. I get it.
Hi, Bret.
It's the shoot interviews and everything else.
Yep.
Hi, Paul. Every time we make a Atomic Dropcast reference, I'm going to say hi, Paul. How about that?
checking your notes.
Yeah. Check our notes. Hi, Paul.
you know, Brian, I'm looking at my notes here, and one thing I made a note of.
I listened back recently, and that was what I heard. It was on YouTube, and Brian says, Paul says he doesn't like when we check our notes, and then something like Brian would check his notes, or I would check my notes, and Brian would say, "Hi, Paul."
Yeah.
And then it started to be a weird thing where I called Brian on it, and then it got to be a thing where we just say it all the time for no reason.
It was great. I loved it.
Welcome back to the Atomic Dropcast. Hi, Paul.
It later spawned anytime a Canadian's brought up, it's Hi Roland. I mean, it was a whole brand.
Hi Roland. Yep, that's the whole thing. So no, we appreciate you. You were our first and only listener. So thank you for listening and spawning the Efed Podcast.
Well, matter of fact, it came from before we even posted the first episode of Atomic Dropcast. I had sent it to a select few. And Paul was one, and that was the note he came back with. It's like, it's great, I love it, but like maybe it would sound more polished if you didn't reference your notes so much.
Or more conversational is what you told me.
Well, and we tried tried that, and we kept faltering.
It's hard. It's hard.
So it's like, all right, let's.
So it became a joke.
Yeah, let's make it a bit.
It worked. Everybody's happy. Yeah.
Anyway, back to Paul.
Hey. Hi, Paul.
Hi, Paul.
Hi, Paul. How did you find e-wrestling, Paul?
So it's really funny listening to Jamar's story today. His story and my story are very different in many ways and very alike in many ways. And he and I were texting about this today. But I had just moved out on my own, graduated high school. I had actually moved into an apartment with my older brother and his two friends in like downtown, like where I grew up was like per capita, the most bars in the United States.
Nice.
So like we were literally up the hill from Bar Central. All of my roommates worked at the bar. So I had moved into this crazy situation, this innocent kid. So very different from Jamar, who like had to worry about like what he was doing. I was thrown into this very different world. And I went to the public library because I was bored. And because it was 2 blocks away. The library was 2 blocks away. And I would search wrestling shit because I was trying to get my roommates into it. And the Monday Night Wars were happening, and it was 97, 98, 97-ish, probably 98. And so I was trying to get them into it. They were slowly getting into it. So I would go to the library and just search anything wrestling I could find. And I would do a search, and it wasn't the first place I found, but it was like the 3rd or 4th link down was Hardcore Extreme Wrestling, HEW. I don't know what Gerald did to get his results, because so many people who like literally so many people that you're talking to today found this place, and it's weird. Jamar joined I feel like he joined like shortly after I did, like within a matter of weeks. And I found this place, and what I liked about it was it really felt like there was no rules, like literally no rules in how you approached it. Meaning Gerald, the Fed head, who is one of Brian's friends in real life, right?
Yeah. He still lives down the street from me.
That's amazing. That's a guy I want to talk to. That's a guy you should interview. Johnny, somebody you should talk to. But Gerald didn't give a fuck what you wanted to do, and you could send an angle in where I want to hit this guy with my car, and he would be like, It's in the show. He didn't give a fuck. He would talk to the guy. He would do it because people would do crazy shit to my character. And I'm like, do you just let anything go? And he's like, yes. And I'm like, all right. But I'll be honest with you. Like, I think that appealed to a lot of people in the CSWA FWrestling.com circle who also found the promotion. Like Pete Russo, I think, was the first one from that group to also find this place. And I think that appealed to a lot of people because I don't know if you guys have Eric Ziba, who used to handle Apocalypse, and somebody else. EZ. Right. EZ is a lunatic, but I love the guy. But he literally, he also came over with Pete and Kent Robinson, who handled Blade, and Jamar's talked about Andy Blocks and we handled Zero. So many people who would go on and grow elsewhere somehow found HEW. And it's weird. But yes, it was awesome. It was the best time because it was the Wild West. You could literally do whatever you wanted, but then you had to role play some kind of reaction and take control of the situation. You had to take control. It was amazing.
I love that you mentioned that you found it at the library, because I would be lying if I said I've never submitted a role play from a library.
Hey,
I literally used to. I
was say, if I'm not mistaken, because we all started that way. Gerald probably started AGW at the library because our whole little group of friends, 3 or 4 of us, that's how we started the fantasy wrestling. So
anybody who listens to this who's under the age of, say, I don't know, 28, 27, you're going to say the library.
You mean one of those socialist indoctrination camps? So yeah, like the library. What an amazing thing. But yeah, I think like that's where I started Havoc, and he had a tag team partner, Rick Sampson, and I want to say one of my first matches. Brian, did we ever role play against each other in HEW? Do you remember?
I don't know. I was telling Mikey this recently, like obviously because of Gerald. Like I was in and out of there. Here, you know, I had some time, obviously, but I never stayed around too long because I think it was known that we knew each other, and the kind of nepotism thing. Yes, I was. We may have. I don't know. I know I had K9 in there, and I had a Hakushi ripoff named Shaolin.
Yeah, you did.
That's why you think Hakushi did it better.
Well, and because Hakushi did it better.
There's 2 reasons. There's always 2 reasons.
That's a hell of a callback. I'm just saying.
So Brian, like, and again, not to make this the HEW podcast, but Joey, was that your third? Was that the other friend?
Yeah, Joey was around the block the other way, a couple houses down, who handled Darkness.
Okay.
Everyone handled it just insane, and Joey did as well.
Yes, I did too.
I
actually, quote unquote, created Just Insane and gave it to Joey.
You're nothing if not incredibly magnanimous.
Thank you for creating that for me, Brian. I appreciate that.
But yeah, so HEW started Havoc, where, you know, Jamar in the previous episode, if you haven't checked it out, you can check that out at Efed Podcast. Thank you. Edit that. But
we'll sync it up in post.
Thank you. But he kind of talked about all the people you met and the relationships you built. So Andy Bloxham, who Jamar referenced, handled Zero in HEW. He handled Zero in CWL. Also, Andy approached the hobby in a way I had never seen it done before. He approached it like a story and like he was writing a book about the character versus I'm going to kick your ass. Yes, he did. He had promos, but you also learned about what was going on outside of the ring and in this guy's personal life, his trials and tribulations with his girlfriend, whatever. It sounds like a soap opera, but it wasn't. It was handled in a very dark and interesting way that kind of woke me up on how the hobby could be approached. When Jamar says he copied me, I copied Andy, you know? And I did. Like, I kind of saw what he did, and I'm like, I want to do that. And I don't know if, Brian, you remember Andy's early role plays with Zero, but it was different, right? Or am I crazy?
No, it was super different. I will say for a certain circle, at least, he created the whole story development, kind of the character development style.
I agree.
And also, he was the first one I ever saw with the website. Remember fasttonowhere.com?
Yeah, it was his band.
Damn him.
And he had, like, you would open up his role plays and he had MIDI music playing in the background, and I stole that. I stole the shit out of that in 1998. You'd open it up here like a bad Led Zeppelin. I don't even know what song.
I right-click page, so I stole his whole site. Made one for myself.
That's how you learn the code, Brian.
100%.
That's how you learn the code
all day long.
Wow, that's so not only did he create storytelling, but he also created you.
Thank you, Andy.
But yes, so Andy was really cool, and like Andy and I hooked up and got to know each other on a personal level, like Jamar said, and Havoc and Zero, we put them in a feud. And what we did that I think shocked people, my whole aim in fantasy wrestling is not to beat people. I like surprising people. I like getting people that want to read my shit. Because I've had to read people's stuff before. And then I've got people where I'm like, ooh, all right, scroll. When do I get to Mikey's stuff? When do I get to this? I know. Do you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Nice plug.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Shout.
Like there's stuff I have to read, and then there's stuff I want to read. I wanted to be somebody who wrote something that somebody wanted to read, and when they got there, they were surprised. So Zero and Havoc ended up stealing Zero's girlfriend in a way that Andy had sprinkled into the story. In 1998, to me, it was just such a cool thing, and like I kept the bitch. Havoc kept the bitch. It wasn't like a short-term thing. Like he gave me the character, and for me, it was really cool. So HEW was a lot of fun. That's probably the craziest time. For me.
So let me ask you this: you talk about HEW, you talk about Havoc, your first character. What about Real Wrestler Feds? Did you ever find one? Did you ever join one? Because back in the day, that was what was popular.
I think that was one of the first things I found before I found HEW. Just like Jamar, literally just like Jamar. I don't think I created a character, but I think I saw people do really bad versions of characters, and it just frustrated me.
Yes.
And matter of fact, in HEW, there was a guy, and Brian, I hope you remember this guy. His character name was Big Papa Paul. It wasn't me.
Oh, that name is very familiar.
Nice.
He literally, line for line, holler if you hear me, the whole thing. It was a complete lift. And to me, that I can see how that's fun to like, these are the feuds I want to see these guys have. But for me, I wanted to, if I was going to do it, I wanted to do something that was mine.
I'm not going to lie. That might have been Gerald.
You're not wrong.
All right. So HEW was a good run. You had a great time there. You got to know many of the handlers that you still know today, including.
So
go ahead.
I went just like Jamar. I went right to SCW, which was Superior Championship Wrestling. Jamar followed me.
Riding your coattails.
I probably said, dude, come over, because it was a lot of fun. I won the SCW. Havoc won the SCW title in his first or second match. I want to say he beat Stalker. Justin. Oh, Justin. Here's the thing, and let's talk about Justin Butron. I would love to talk about this guy. Because in 1998, I wanted to drown him in a shallow pool.
Hey, in 2018. No, I'm kidding.
No, but I remember there was one time, it was either HEW or SCW, where he pissed me off. I don't know what it was. And he and I have talked about this. I'm like, dude, remember that time we had the falling out? And he's like, no, we've always loved each other.
I've always loved you, so you've always loved me, obviously.
I'm like, no. I'm like, dude, we fought. Like, we had a major, very public, out of character forum argument. And don't ask me about what it was. I have no clue.
What was it about?
But Justin's an interesting guy, because I've known him almost as long as I've known Brian and all these other guys. And you will not find a more passionate, creative mind than that dude. And I always respect that. And I've always appreciated that, even when he was driving me crazy and I wanted to murder him and lose him in a large field.
I love Justin. I got more respect for him than most, and he's a great writer. He beat the Bros for the tag titles and left us high and dry. And I just we've since made friends and been fine again. But I was real salty about that for a long time. So
you were yeah. Go ahead, Brian.
Justin is all in or all out. No in between.
Yeah. No in between.
And you know what? When he's all in, he's balls out.
So I love Justin today. We've talked since then, and we're good to go. Obviously, he's a patron, or he's a former patron. He's been a patron. He loves the show. He appreciates us, and me and Justin are on good terms again, as long as he doesn't fall out of defiance again soon.
But I'll tell you. So SCW was a blast. And Ed Burton, is it Ed Burton, Brian? Who ran that?
Hey, look, I don't remember. Remember, SCW is the Fed that me, you, and Justin argued about whether I was ever there or not.
Oh, right. And what's great is Brian's like, I won't deny that I was there.
Well, actually, I think I was very adamant. I was never there. And then I remember it, but I was never there. And then you went to the Wayback Machine and pulled up a old website to show me I was in the Hall of Fame.
If those of you on Patreon are wondering why I'm looking to my right every time Brian talks, because some reason I look at my microphone every time he speaks, because he's not on the video. So I just look at my microphone every time Brian talks.
That's kind of sweet.
It's almost like he's here next to me.
When you talk to me, you look at your beer, which is just as sweet.
And rub my face because I've been drunk. Here we go. So we got talk about what happens next. You're world champion early on.
Just like Jamar, go to CSWA. Havoc has a decent run there. I think he was the U.S. champion. CSWA was just like Jamar. It was where you wanted to go, and you wanted to be there. And even though they ran like 3 shows a year on average while I was there, it was a blast because the shows were awesome. I remember spending so much time just going back in the archives, and I wanted to learn more about why is Hornet such a big deal? Why does he never
Why does he always win? Hornet always wins.
Why does he always win? Right? But like you go back and you're like, well, of course he always wins. I get it. Right. So like CSWA was amazing. And it's I wish that just kept going forever because it was perfect for me. Like what a great, and it closed like 50 times. And I hope
it's crazy to me that you guys were in it. Brian was in it. Jamal was in it. Pete was in it. Everybody was in it. And meanwhile, I had seen it and I'm like, I'm not there yet. And I never even got, and since then, I never came into your guys' circle until 10 years later.
Wow, that's crazy.
Once FWrestling.com became like a hub for other beds. Yeah. Which is just further genius on Chad's part, honestly.
100%. Because that used to be, that fantasy wrestling, it used to be fantasywrestling.com. And I think someone bought it out for him, right? Yeah.
What was it? Was it us, Brian?
Oh, I wish.
It was Agatha.
It was a callback to before the call. I like it.
No, yeah, Chad sold at a high point and then transitioned over to FWrestling.com and also CSWAWrestling.com. And FWrestling.com, as we know, is still there. At one point, it was much larger, FWC, and there were blog posts and articles and all kinds of things going on.
Yeah, it was fun. It was a good time. It was a. You always wished that something like CSWA could just keep going. If that website did kind of keep that circle together when CSWA wasn't a thing, because you had other promotions pop up on there as a hub. GXW, which was Brunk and Chad Dupree, who passed away in 2004. Who was just an amazing guy. Handled Rob Sampson. Much respect. I'm sure Brunk has probably talked about Chad, I imagine, on the show. I haven't listened to his episode yet, but boy, will I.
Didn't GXW, isn't that what spun off of MWC? Warren's Multinational Wrestling?
It may have after I was there. I thought it sort of went into EPW. I remember there was some kind of connection, but I feel like, in my memory, I smoked a lot of pot. Smoked a lot. I'm better now. I smoked. Anyway, but I feel like they were connected in some way. Empire Pro, which is another place Jamar went to. But GXW was where. Well, I want to go back to SCW quick because I also introduced Cyrus Blackshear and Max Blackshear, who were brothers. And their whole thing was a feud. The whole reason for them, I introduced 2 characters. I was going to feud against them because I had already done the trash talking thing and felt pretty good about it. I wanted to try doing more of a story. So I'm like, I'm going to introduce 2 brothers who wrestle other people, but there's this underlying story between them. It kind of eventually would culminate, and I'm not going to try to get into the minutia of it, but culminate in Cyrus beating his brother in a very violent way. Cyrus being the good guy, they were both British, grew up rough. Cyrus was more like the Benoit type, silent. Max was more of the killer, no pun intended. And Max was more of the heel brother. and they would feud. It would end with Cyrus eventually winning and kind of knocking Max out of the picture. The whole way, I had sort of been sprinkling this little story of Cyrus having these headaches and he putting off the doctor. They thought it was concussions, and I don't want to know if I see a doctor, you're going to take me out. I'm trying to get the title. He would eventually win the title, have an aneurysm in the ring, and die because he had cancer or whatever. And it shocked so many people because like they knew Cyrus's whole story was to win the title, and he won the title, and it ended like in the ring. I wrote this awesome press conference after. Very emotional.
Very good.
But like so many people reached out and they were like, holy fuck, you killed him. Like, why would you kill him? Bring it back. Like, I remember Justin, I feel like Justin was like, he's coming back. And I'm like, dude, you watched him die. He died on national television. He's like, no, but right, but you'll bring him back. And I'm like, no, he's dead. So the whole story, like I would eventually move Max Blackshear, his brother, into other promotions. He would pop up elsewhere and kind of have this haunting thing of cancer or the aneurysm killed his brother, not him. He never beat him. He beat himself. And like, so he was haunted by this. I never was able to beat my brother thing. And that was kind of what Max's weird hang up, sadistic deal, whatever.
So talk about those other feds. Do you have any good runs with Max?
It was a lot of like, I remember doing tournaments. I feel like maybe one of the team tournaments that Holzerman maybe put together. Or I know he was in GXW. He was in the GXW the same time that Ice Trey was. And I feel like Max and Triple X had Sean Stevens with Jamar Short, had a couple matches. Ice Trey and Jamar and Jamar's character, Triple X, had some matches. So I know he was there. I don't think I ever finished the story. I had the whole idea of this redemption thing where he kind of came back, but I never got there.
And that sometimes happens in e-wrestling. You know, you start something, you have the full intention of telling the story, and then things happen.
Life happens. I feel like I had just gotten together with my girlfriend at the time, who would become my wife, and just life was crazy. I was moving.
It's crazy you met Brian that early.
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding.
Hold on, wait.
When you meet the girl of your dreams, you hold on to it.
No, just kidding. But yeah, so you have the good run with Max, but your real life gets busy. You're forming a relationship with the woman who becomes your wife.
Right. Yeah. And like in that whole time period, I was trying to be active. I wanted to still keep doing what I was doing, and I had to explain to her, I'm kind of a nerd. And I pick these characters, but I'm not the only nerd, honey. And this might scare you. There's hundreds and hundreds and thousands of nerds out there.
As far as the eye can see.
Ear to ear nerds. And she's like, so you guys like talk to each other? And I'm like, well, yes, I talk to them, but like we're writing stories together. And she's like, okay. And that was like the end of it. So, but I love
the impression.
What's really funny, right? What's really funny is, and it's not even accurate. What's really funny is people tend to when people still talk to me about, hey, come back to fantasy wrestling, come back to e-wrestling, come back. You got to come to join this, Justin. And it's always bring back Ice Trey.
Just do it,
Brian.
Just do it.
My personal laugh track. But like they always want. Nobody wants to see Havoc again. Enough. I don't really care about the Blackshears unless you're bringing Cyrus back. It's really everybody wants Ice Trey. And the funniest thing is Ice Trey was created on a whim because GXW was going to do a cruiserweight tournament, and it was 8 wrestlers they needed, and they only had 7. And we were waiting, and everybody's waiting, and I'm like, I got it. And I think Brunk with the Fed head, he's like, you don't have a character that's a cruiserweight. And I'm like, I put in an application. I just made the character up at the spot. I'm like, here you go. And it's just funny that somebody who I literally made up on the spot is the guy that a lot of people talk about. It's goofy. It's crazy.
So let's talk about Ice Trey. Obviously, I'll tell you what. Let's leave with this. Here is a sample of Ice Trey.
Hold on. I want to. Okay. Can I preface this?
Go ahead.
So, like, what you're about to play in 2004, I was bored and I was probably really stoned. I smoked a lot of pot. And And I was a musician, like just at home musician. I had this digital 4-track recorder, and I was recording music on it. And one day I'm like, I should do an audio role play with Ice Trey, because Ice Trey, to explain, is the most ridiculous character ever. He's basically a white Flavor Flav, but he doesn't know. He doesn't know.
What time
number
it is?
one, he's white. He doesn't know what time it is, and he doesn't know. He doesn't know that he sucks as a wrestler. He literally thinks he's the most amazing thing. And so I did. I was bored. I was probably really high, and I did this audio role play to build up to a GXW pay-per-view or come out of it, and take it away.
And here it is. This is 17 years ago, 20 years ago.
It's amazing. It's amazing.
It's amazing.
This audio role play is legally sexually active.
We're back, everyone. This is Scotty Flash on the Zoom, WZOM. We're in the middle of the drive time live at 5. It's 33 minutes past the hour. Let me tell you, it's been one of those afternoons. We've already played the Name That Nipple game, and Jim here has wet himself in between the commercial break. How you doing?
I couldn't help myself, you know?
We still got a lot more to get to, so get dry.
Yeah.
In a little bit, we're going to talk to Mindy, the one-legged lesbian stripper.
Woo-hoo.
I can't wait for that.
Yeah, me neither,
Yeah.
you know?
Before we get to that, Jim, did you catch that wrestling pay-per-view a few nights ago? The GXW one.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah.
GXW?
Global Extreme Wrestling put on this
No.
show. Okay, it's Battleground Britain. I gotta
Right.
let you borrow the tape. Okay, this is some crazy stuff. It had some great matches, a lot of intensity, and not to mention our next guest.
Oh, we got a wrestler
Yeah.
on here today, you're telling me.
That's right. He's coming in. Is he coming in right now?
This guy?
Oh, all right, yeah. Okay, he's coming in. Here he comes. All right, ladies and gentlemen, the guy's name is Ice Trey.
You're kidding. Get a load of this guy, Jim.
Yeah.
Here you go.
It's happening, baby. Yeah.
Come on in here.
I'm
Have
in,
a seat,
baby.
Trey. Have a seat. There you
All
go.
right. Well, this one-
Pull that microphone real close to your mouth.
I got it.
There
I
you
got
go.
it. All right. Yeah. What's happening? Oh, yeah.
Trey, I watched the pay-per-view. You were
yeah.
supposed to have a match against a guy named Max Blackshear, but
Right.
the match got canceled. And,
Right. Yeah. See, but with all due respect, Mr. Flash, the Trey did not come in today to talk about what went down at the Battleground. Yeah. See, I'm here today to talk about the future, baby. It's all about the future.
All right, fair enough. At the pay-per-view, you issued a challenge to any title holder in GXW, and
right.
I gotta ask you,
right.
has anybody responded yet?
Hell no. They's be hiding, Scotty. There ain't nobody in the wrestling world that can touch me when I get in that ring. And that's why Max Blackshear can't be found. That's why there ain't a so-called champion in GXW that has stepped up. Ain't nobody can break the ice, baby. Nobody.
Is this guy for real?
Yeah, I think he is, Jim.
Oh, you know I is, baby.
All right, Trey.
Yeah.
Trey, you also said
Yeah.
at the pay-per-view that you take on every champion in one night if that's what it took. Don't you think, given your rather unimposing stature, that challenge is a bit foolish? I mean, come on.
Wait, wait, you're serious?
Yeah.
Bitch, please. I am Ice Trey, okay? The king of the streets. The second coming of Boogie, baby.
All right.
Undefeated
Okay,
since coming to GXW.
You haven't had a match yet, by
That
my
ain't my
record.
fault.
This guy's a joke.
A joke?
Relax, Trey.
Hell
relax,
no. This
relax,
punk
relax.
stepping all up in my business, casting aspersions and... Let me tell you something, fat man.
All right, go ahead. Go ahead. Tell me
Yeah,
something.
I would whoop your ass if I thought it would do either one of us any good. Go on, laugh.
God.
Go on right on
All
ahead.
right.
While you laughing, I'll be right back in GXW, climbing the ladder, snatching all
Okay.
the gold, and counting all the money.
Okay. Ice Trey. Okay, Ice Trey. All right, we're running out of time. All right, we got a lot more show to get to. Thank you for coming. Do you have any parting thoughts? If you want to talk to anybody, just
Yeah.
lay it out there. What do you got to
All
say? Go ahead.
Yeah,
go
word.
ahead. Go ahead. This is your moment. Go
All
ahead.
right, word. All right, yeah. Just allow me to reiterate my earlier challenge for any of the punk-ass GXW locker room didn't hear me the first 3 times. Any of you, baby, or all of you, baby, bring your gold and I'm going to take it. I'll snatch it right from you. See, I'm a crazy mother who doesn't give a about anything but mother winning, baby. I will slap you in the face with my and on your in front of your kids and
Sounds like an R. Kelly video.
See, that's just the kind of man I am, baby. I can't be held back. I can't be stopped. And at the next revolution, baby, I'm gonna show the world just how badly I want
Thank you, Ice Trey. Thank you again, Ice
it.
Trey.
Showing up.
Thank you.
Showing up.
Thank you. There he is, ladies and gentlemen. There he is.
Showing up.
There he is. Thank you, Ice Trey.
baby. You been good,
His first
baby.
appearance
Look at
on the
that,
Scotty Flash Show. Thank you. See you. There he goes. All right. Is he out of here?
Yeah, I want to apologize to everybody who just listened to that. I recognize that in 2021, I've been practicing this all week, by the way. I recognize that in 2021, this is not, I want you to know, this does not reflect my views or opinions or of those of efedpodcast.com.
This does not reflect the views and opinions of the show, only the guest on the show, and possibly not even his opinions at this point.
At this point, correct. But yeah, so Ice Tray, like that got a ridiculous response. People flipped out. I'm pretty sure that Lindsay's favorite character of mine is Ice Tray. And the fact that Lindsay's favorite character of mine is Ice Tray is the dumbest thing to me and the most amazing thing to me ever. And I love it. I love it. I love it.
So
it's ridiculous.
What are the highs and lows of Ice Tray? Just his with the highlights.
There were no lows. So
That was all highs, baby.
No, but you already know, baby. What's happening, baby? Listen, so listen. The reason why I say there were no lows is because I set the bar so fucking low. I went into it saying I don't want this guy to win a match. His whole point is I'm going to have fun. I'm going to beat you in the role play, and then I'm going to tell the guy who's writing the match I don't want to win it. That was my intent in the beginning, is to kind of just be like, you know what, I'm going to really talk shit really well, but I don't care if I win. At that point, I was over the drama of fantasy wrestling. Like, I didn't want any of that. I kind of wanted to just tell a story, do something cool. So Ice Tray let me be goofy and not care about the ego. It actually put other people over, except for Triple X Sean Stevens, who I insisted that Ice Tray beat. And I think Jamar told the story of like the chain broke and he beat him in a cage. But what Jamar didn't tell you, he touched on it, is Brunk was the Fed head. And this was probably EPW at this point. And Brunk did not want Triple X to lose to Ice Tray. Like, he messaged us saying, no. Triple X is our champion for over a year. He's not going to lose. Paul, with all due respect, I don't even think he said with all due respect. No, he didn't. He's like, he's a joke character. He's not going to win. He's not going to beat him. And I'm like, well, so like Jamar and I kind of huddled up, and I'm like, this is the story though, is that Ice Tray beats him and just antagonizes him the rest of the time, which is what we did. I beat you. I'm the king of the cage. He took his crown, like the whole thing. And finally, Brunk relented. I'm like, he beats him in a really goofy way. But like, it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. And people, Jamar talked about his title reign continued and everything was fine. But we did. We had to fight for that. We had to fight for that.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love to hear that. Shout out to Brunk. Great Fed head, great friend.
Well, lead and a former Fed head of Defiance. So leading into this new DEF CON, what I'm taking away from this conversation is a guy who used to run the place is saying that a comedy character shouldn't win.
It just so happens that a comedy character runs the place these days.
I'll toast to that, gentlemen. Oh God. But again,
I did bad.
For me, it became more about telling a story and having fun. My regrets with Ice Tray is one of my intentions was to sort of tie all my characters together through the same wrestling school, and was essentially, without going into the details, like they all like kind of like a similar background, whatever. It never got there, and that's like my one regret with Ice Tray, where I was going to eventually turn him into a legitimate wrestler. And at some point, I'm like, he's wrestling, he's losing, he's got to learn. And my intent was to have him to go back to wrestling school and actually train to be a wrestler along the way. And I just never got there. Yeah. Yeah. So somebody can have that one. That one's for free.
So what are you doing right now, Paul?
What's that?
What are you doing right now?
I just never listen.
We're going to get there.
Justin has joined the chat.
DefianceWrestling.com.
We'll get there. AtomicDropcast.com.
.com.
Hi, Paul.
Hi, Paul.
Hi, Paul. Hi, Roland.
Oh, my God. Amazing.
All right, so that's the end of the Ice Tray run. Talk to us about what happened next.
I don't know. I think I bowed out. I think I stepped away from the hobby for a good chunk of time. I think I hopped back around. I tried to bring Max back in a couple of one shots because I wanted to tell that goddamn story. I wanted to tell the story. I just have never done it. Honestly, the next thing after that may have been Jamar and I trying to do the Masked Violators the first time. Jamar and I probably over the course of 4 or 5 years tried so many false starts on bringing the Masked Violators to anybody. First of all, say Masked Violators 5 times. It's fucking horrible.
Masked Violators, Masked Violators, Masked Violators, Masked Violators, Masked Violators.
Yeah, but doesn't it hurt when you do it? We had tried like multiple times. We had tried like, you know what our intent was? We joined fwrestling.com. We both created new accounts, created fake identities. We were going to join this new promotion that was there for literally, I don't think I had one show. We were going to join this new promotion anonymously and create this really goofy tag team of, you know, I handled, and that was the beauty of the tag team, is I handled Masked Violator #1, who was the squeaky clean babyface American hero, square jaw, rescue, put the coat across the puddle so the dame doesn't have to get her toesies wet. He handled this grimy, burping, alcoholic, Wolverine type, little short heel, angry miscreant. And we could never find a Fed where we could plant them and do something with them. And then Defiance was brought to our attention. I don't even know how I heard about Defiance. Justin Dutron. I mean, I'm sure I got the list. Pete's there, and I want to talk about Pete. Pete's there, and Brian's there, and you gotta come. You know, Justin. God, fucking love him. The man's a pit bull.
Once he gets in the sandbox, he wants all his friends there.
It's fucking over.
Shout out to Justin.
Right, and I love that. I love that about him. So yes, it was probably Justin who said, "Hey, come check this out." I said to Jamar, like, "Let's try this," and he's like, "Absolutely," because Jamar's also thinking, "Hey, we know all these people. This will be fun." So Jamar and I put our application in. We do one role play together that we've collaborated on. It completely flakes out.
He didn't mention that in his interview. Amazing. I can't believe it.
No, he completely spoiled the ending of their story, but he neglected the part where he talked about how they flaked out. He was like, "Oh, we were busy. We were adults." Typical 49ers fan. But what I love is, so he did. Life got busy for him. And listen, I want to say Jamar Short is like maybe one of, and this is not bullshit, one of the greatest people I've ever interacted with. I have not met him personally. It's going to happen. He is one of the best dudes I've ever met. He's an incredible father, an attentive friend. He's been through a lot of shit, but also is just a positive force. And I am so thankful that, like, if fantasy wrestling brought us together is so stupid, all of us. It's fucking ridiculous that Brian and I know each other, but we don't know each other.
It's ridiculous that we're on the Efed podcast.
A little bit.
It's ridiculous that I went to Mikey's
I'm glad
wedding.
to be here. Hey, that's friendship. That's fucking teamwork.
It's fucking nuts.
It is. Oh man. It is. So, but again, like, so, you know, I don't even know what I was talking about. Drink.
Cheers.
Yeah. So, Masked Violators in Defiance, they stopped and started.
Right. So my intent with them, one of the things, like I said earlier, I like to surprise people. So my whole intent with them, and I don't think anybody was paying attention. That was the thing with Defiance that I struggled with Defiance because I felt like everyone was very focused on what they were doing. And yes, people would do reviews. Yep. Yeah, I feel like sometimes, like, I wanted somebody to be like, "Who the fuck are these?" I don't know, and maybe it's just my weird application. But like, what are these guys doing? So my whole goal was to swerve everybody. I tried to introduce a different tag team that would take their place in the last
Storm.
minute. Like, yes, and now it sounds like a QAnon reference, and I can't fuck. Anyway. So the storm is coming. Fuck.
That backfired.
It totally backfired. Won't be the last time. I did. I tried to swerve everybody. And my other stumble with Defiance. And I wanted to make the marriage work. It was me, not you. But like everything everything was very much out there. This is what I'm going to do. This is when I'm going to do it. This is what's going to happen. These are who's going to be in the segment. And I kind of struggle with that because I don't like to put all my cards out there, Jamar. I like to I like a slow build, and sometimes I change my mind, and sometimes I change it. And listen, Defiance very well could have been. They probably didn't give a shit what I was doing, and I probably could change what I was doing as I was doing it. I get all that, but for me, I struggled with that. That for me, it was a different. I liked the structuredness of it, but I struggled with how open it was. I want to shock you motherfuckers. I want to have somebody in the segment you don't know is going to be there. And I know you could do that with the question marks, but even still, there's a I don't know. It bothered me.
Well, Defiance still works the same way. You still have to set up your arcs in advance. But I tell you what, there's many, many, many more handlers paying attention to the shows. There's many more reviews. There is in-depth analysis. There is newsletters. It is insane.
I want to be very clear. I'm a big fan.
Especially of that Fist of Defiance champion.
Hey, well,
moving on.
Well, I was going to say, just to stop right there for a second.
No, I'm trying to move on so he can't answer.
So, well, no, very specifically, though, that was a time period in Defiance where the staff was very beleaguered.
Yes.
I had just
it was a situation of transition.
Yeah, and I had just come on, so yeah, I think the oversight was very low, and if I remember correctly, you were very perturbed by especially the fact
chances are you're right
that you had, rightfully so, but you were very perturbed by the fact that 2 different tag teams were essentially allowed to have the same stipulation type blow off. It was like a outsider tag team coming in for a contract.
Right. And and again, my whole thing was, I thought the whole point of telling you what my plan was for you to integrate it with other people.
Yes.
And I thought that was genius. That appealed to me. It appealed to me a great deal. But you are correct. On the same show, my team debuted, another team debuted in almost the exact same way, and I'm like, well, what the fuck did I? Yeah, that's true.
It was a tough time. Like I said, the old
now that Brian's a bedhead.
Listen, I get it. I know. I come on the show and shit on the promotion. I'm amazing.
No. I know. I wanted to bring that up in particular because at the time I had just become staff, and like that. I agreed. Mm-hmm. I agreed with you. Like, man, this is not a good look, But and honestly, not to say that in any fit, not to say it can't happen, but I like to say Roland pays way more attention now.
Hi, Roland.
Hi, Roland.
Hi, Roland.
Hi, Paul.
Oh man. Well, no. Listen, that's great. I mean, and again, like I don't know. I reached out to Brian. I reached out to you a couple months ago. Like, hey, what's going on with Defiance? Because I had an idea for the Masked Violators. An idea where I might be able to reintroduce them. And Justin, I'm not trying to plant a seed. My sweet, sweet friend.
He's gonna message you every day for the rest of your life.
I love him.
You got 2 months worth of messages coming to you, buddy.
Bring it on, buddy. Bring it on. But like I had an idea, but I also like it was. I don't know. It's a little bit out there, but the Masked Violators are a little bit out there, so you never know. Stay tuned.
Ooh.
Hey,
let's be honest.
Just to cover the Masked Violators real quick, I enjoyed them very much. It was at a time where I was in Defiance, both as the Bruvs and as a singles wrestler. I really enjoyed what you did.
We had a few, didn't we? Didn't we?
We did a brief thing where it was like 3 or 4 teams intertwined, so it was kind of confusing.
Right, okay.
Sometime we got to do a thing where me, you, and Jamar and Stevie get together and we do a storyline or something because it's a blast. But I'll tell you what, that was the only time I interacted with you as a handler. I had a great time. I thought your stuff was hilarious. I thought it was like bringing back like an 80s style tag team of the masked assassins, the masked
Villanos,
something. To me, that's what it was. That's what it brought back to me. It brought back nostalgia. And to me, it hit a chord, and I really enjoyed reading your guys' stuff, and whether it was both of you or just you or whatever the case.
It was just him.
A lot of it. No, listen, we worked on at least one thing together. The bulk of it, anything you saw on the card or from
was
our
an evolution of Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, listen, like Jamar and I came up with that idea together, and we had a lot. Like he said, we came up with a lot of crazy stuff. It was going to be fun, and maybe it will be someday. Who knows?
And someday, me and Stevie need to work with you guys because I think it would be a great tag team feud.
Definitely.
The Bros versus Mass Violators would be so much
I
fun.
love it.
I'm a big fan, and obviously I got to know you through Defiance. I got to know you through the Atomic Dropcast, so I appreciate your patronage both to Atomic Dropcast, getting to know you and Def as a handler. And so moving forward, we're going to hit these handler questions. What do you think?
Let's do it. Yeah, I checked out some of them.
I got one question first before we get to that and start and leave Defiance.
Yes.
The manager of the Storm.
Nigel Tricklebush, you dastardly fellow. So literally the whole idea of the Storm was a throwaway tag team, and I created a British weird manager for them. And yes, Lord Nigel was weird. My intent with him was to, as you know, Brian and I were going to do something where Nigel tried to corrupt Scott Douglas and turn the hero into a villain and try to get in his head and fuck with him and try to turn, which would have been a lot of fun. And then I flaked out.
That's none of my business, by the way you drank that.
That's not what I was getting at, but yeah, no, I think
okay.
I think everyone who read Nigel loved Nigel.
Loved Nigel.
There was that point where I was like, oh fuck, well the MVs are gone, that sucks. But Nigel, like,
what's Nigel doing?
Yeah.
Right, that was the thing. Like I said, I surprised people. So like my whole point was, what the fuck is this guy up to? The Storm is gone. The Mass Violators are gone. Paul's still here. He's got a manager. He's gonna handle a manager. Yeah. I am the laziest. What you guys? If you're just tuning in, I am the laziest e-wrestling participant ever. I wrestle myself. I handle a manager. It's amazing. What a career.
That was awesome. I don't want to hold up the proceedings, but I just had to, from jump, I was like, I have to bring up Nigel.
No, I'm down. I appreciate it.
Brian, I think you're screwing yourself. This has been a great interview with you also at the helm. I think we're going to have to do this moving forward.
Oh, see?
Yeah.
See?
Yeah, I think so too. It's fun.
Keep burying myself following up Mikey's ideas.
It was
Hey,
my
Brian.
idea, actually.
Brian, I've got an idea.
It's like,
It's going to cost you time, for sure.
Yeah.
All right.
It's going to cost you time and make you pennies.
Brian, I've got an idea. It's Efed Podcast. Brian, I've got an idea. It's EWTs. Brian, I've got an idea. I'm starting to fed. All right, here we go.
I was like, I'll help, but I'm out on that one. I got my own shit show over here to handle.
Got your hands full, right?
All right. From the crowd over on the Twitter machine, we got Pete at UserPoets on Twitter.
Okay.
Paul, did you get any comment or response to your Eli Fears Havoc sign?
Oh, that is a deep cut. So it was probably 2000, I went to a WWE show and I held up a sign that says Eli Flair Fears Havoc. And it never got on TV, but I did take a picture and years later showed it to Pete. So I want to talk about Pete. When I talked earlier about Andy Bloxham, how Andy changed how I approach the game, Pete was another guy, 100%. I tipped my hat, was another guy who made me, like, Eli Flair was fucking legit. And when Eli Flair came to HEW, it was like, elevate your game, everybody. Like, everybody was like, oh, fuck. Like, this guy's good. Havoc would end up beating Eli Flair. I want to point that out. And Eli Flair will tell you, if you ask Pete, Eli Flair fears Havoc. Pete and I were going to do a story. We were going to do it, and Brian knows, and this is probably something else I flaked out on. We were going to do an HEW revival a couple years ago.
Yeah.
And it was going to be, and Pete and I talked, and I'm like, dude, it's got to be, you're my opponent. But zero thing was done. I had beat him at a pay-per-view, which was named ridiculously Meltdown Revolution X.
Holy cow.
1999. Yeah, 1999.
That's every trope into one.
Unbelievable. Gerald strikes again. So we were going to do a story of Havoc and Eli one more time. And that was something I would still love to do, even though Havoc is done. But yeah, Pete's amazing, and I tip my hat to Pete. He's a genius. Just like Jamar, he drove me crazy at times, but he drives a lot of people crazy. The guy's a fucking genius. And I'm a big Pete fan. Big Pete. I didn't get the book for free though.
Oh,
Buy Pete's book.
Me
Buy
either.
Pete's book.
I had to buy it.
I bought it too. Buy Pete's book over at Amazon.com. It's One Chance, Legend of Valerian's Garden.
Yep, it's good. So yeah, I'm a big Pete fan.
We are as well. Pete just joined the patronage again, his second term on the patronage. So shout out to Pete. Thanks for joining, buddy. Hope you're enjoying this video interview with Paul.
I was going to say also, Pete gets to enjoy this interview earlier than you plebeians at home.
And ad-free.
Ad-free?
What a fucking value.
Tell me more. Take my money. Where do I sign up?
Listen, we got a saying around here, boys. Pete don't play.
Pete don't play over at patreon.com/Efed Podcast.
Pete don't fail me now.
I think it's a good point to jump in and just to throw it in. You mentioned the brief HEW revival. It was to be a very ECW one night only kind of thing. It was, to my remembrance, just talking shit in a Facebook chat, and we got gas on our own nonsense. And then, if I remember correctly, Paul, you went and bought angelfire.com.
I thought you owned that.
No, you bought the .com. I hosted it on my server. So we're both culpable.
Did I? Oh my God, we're geniuses. I just thought, up until now, I thought you were a genius. Now I know that we're both geniuses. This is great.
We're all in. So with the whole thing was like, we could easily get HEW or HEWrestling.com, whatever, but no. We need that Angel Fire address.
You do. Tripod, GeoCities.
Yeah.
The real geniuses are me and you, Paul. We've got 4 or 5 websites on Brian's server.
Yes, free. Yeah, but you know what though? You're the bigger genius. You're the bigger genius, Mikey, because you knew it.
I copied off you, buddy. Hey, you just follow the leader. That's all you do.
All right, what else has Pete got?
All right, Pete's got some more. Let's see on my
nobody reacted. Nobody reacted to the sign, Pete. Everyone was very confused.
Sorry, buddy, but it led to a good diatribe. All right.
They're like, who Flair?
At User Poets, with anyone you've ever been in a Fed with as fair game, who are the top 2 stories you wish you would have told?
All right, so I already kind of segued into it, but Havoc and Eli, 100%. I was prepared to angle it and give the match to Eli because I think it's the better story. Havoc is done. Ending Havoc's run is one of them. The other one is sort of, like I said earlier, Ice Trey's manager was a guy named Cassidy Stewart, who is also married to Havoc's ex-wife and runs this wrestling school. So my plan was to eventually show this whole kind of put it all together, which is probably not an original idea at all. But that was my plan, and I never got to do that. So those are the 2 stories.
There you go. Over on the Discord side of things, we got EWT's best customer. You know that's right. It's Meg. Out of your 5 characters, who do you take the most pride in?
I think I think Cyrus Blackshear, the story that I told with Cyrus, is the one that I like the most because it was a complete story from start to finish. I didn't know exactly what I was going to do when I started him, but I figured it out pretty quick that I'm like, I could do something cool here, tell a family story, and then also a story of somebody who passes and show how his manager was Cassidy Stewart also. So like kind of show how the manager reacted and eventually went with Ice Trey. So like it all kind of, like I said, Ice Trey, believe it or not, is the random linchpin that ties it all together. But I think Cyrus is the one to take which is ridiculous. Cyrus is the one I probably take the most pride in from a storyline standpoint, for sure.
It's cool that you have a definitive beginning and end with the character.
Mm-hmm.
And you never went back on that.
Yeah. No, sorry, Justin.
Death is usually pretty definitive. I mean, not really knee wrestling, but
very final.
He's probably one of the few in knee wrestling who killed a character and chose to do it.
There you go.
Right. And Gerald would choose for a lot of people. He had a lot of people getting run over. 1998 was crazy.
It's just that Rikishi segment over and over again.
I did it for The Rock. All right.
I did it for you. Yeah.
As this is Mr. Sparrow Star on Discord. As someone who has had multiple characters in multiple feds, what do you enjoy more, the collaboration or the competition? Great question.
Good question. Great question. Yeah, that's awesome. It's funny because I'm a shit talker at heart, like Jamar. And back in the day, I would see the response or see the first post and spend all day at work, like not getting anything done. But those mother pacing, I work in a convenience store chain. I'd be in the cooler just pacing, like that son of a bitch. So shit talking is fun. As far as the question was, what I find more rewarding, or what I enjoy the most, I think the storytelling, because again, I like to surprise people. And I like to, my intent is always to entertain myself, but also I want other people to get a kick out of it and be surprised or feel invested in some way. And listen, if they're not, that's clearly sometimes often a reflection of me. But I learned from that too. But yeah, I think the storytelling the most.
That's a good question, a good answer, interesting perspective. Up next is our good friend, Jason Reeves at Stalker.
Oh,
Justin.
Boy. Nice.
What two wrestlers would you like to see Ice Tray face if he ever became active again?
Again, Ice Tray being a joke, I think an Ice Tray Mikey Unlikely match would be incredible.
Yes. I was hoping you'd go there.
Money. That's money on the table. Who wants it? Book it.
Everybody.
It's kind of proto Mikey meets Mikey.
Yes. Let's just say it's a Mikey money match.
Okay. Hey, listen. And everybody gets paid. You dig? Everybody gets paid.
Oh, correction. Everyone gets something.
Love to see it.
No one makes any real money.
You love to see it.
Venereal disease. As far as the other one, I really, man, I don't really know. To be truthful, like I said, Ice Tray was really intended as a joke, and it's really about having fun with him. I don't know. That's a hard one. I want to have answers to these questions. Give me one I have an answer for. What else you got?
Stalker's going to put him away. That's for sure.
Well, that's true. That is true.
All right. Favorite SCW moment from Justin as well.
Okay. Favorite SCW moment is Havoc kicking the shit out of Stalker. It was very fun. And winning the Superior Championship Wrestling Heavyweight title.
There it is. What a maneuver. That's Brian's good to man.
Yeah.
Paul's going to choke, but I like it. All right.
I cough because I'm fighting off a sneeze because you can't let the sneeze win.
No, COVID-19.
Right.
What unique factor would you look for in an EFED if you decided that time would allow you to come back? Interesting question.
Is that from John? Is that Justin also?
Justin as well.
I would return to any Fed that Justin didn't tell me about.
Well, check out classic-wrestling.com. Let me tell you.
.com. Oh, that's genius. I don't know. What would unique factor? I think the people that are in it is important. I would love to reconnect with some of the guys that I've been involved with in the past. I know they're still out there, many of them. I think that's part of it. You got to be who you know, who your bros. And then I would say the other piece would probably be me actually having fucking time to do it. And that's hard. And like actually committing to it. Jamar talked about, I want to do Brunk right by putting time into it. And if I can't give 100%, I don't want to do it. And I'm very much the same way. If I feel like I'm going to flake out, I'm going to tell you before it happens, and I also don't want to commit. So like, if you get an application from Paul Brisbane to join your promotion, please say no. Say no. Just I don't know. You're horrible. I like, and like, listen, the itch hits me. The itch hits me where I'm like, I can do that. Jamar was talking about how he saw that Dan Ryan post in that one promotion where he went at Lindsey Troy and he was like, holy shit. He sent that to me last December. And he's like, you need to read this. Brunk still got it. And I'm like, so I read it and he's like, I'm doing it. I'm going back in. He's like, you got to come in. And I'm like, I just don't know if number one, can't beat Brunk. Go ahead.
HOWrestling.com.
Brunk is real deal. I don't think I've ever faced Brunk one-on-one in a role play, and he could correct that. But Brunk is fucking no joke, man.
Brunk is the real deal. I faced him twice in my life. Once in Angle and he beat me. Once in RP and I beat him. Shout out to Brunk.
Respect, bro. But like you talk about a Mount Rushmore in real wrestling, Dan Ryan's 100% in my Mount Rushmore. 100%.
Absolutely.
100%. Like first ballot Hall of Famer. Enough already.
He's in Howell's Hall of Fame, he's not yet, but he will be. He's in Def. He's got to be in the Def Mount Rushmore. He's got to be in EPW Mount Rushmore. Obviously, he's a Fed head.
Sure.
Obviously, huge reputation. Shout out to Brunk. Up next from Justin. I always say Jason because that's what his screen name is. Top fantasy dream bad guy stable in e-wrestling.
Top heel stable in fantasy wrestling. Jamar mentioned TCW, which was a promotion he was in that had a lot of good heels last week. And I actually was the Fed head of that. And I said to him, as I'm listening to the show, I'm like, bro, I wrote that match, I think. That was my promotion, by the way. Put me over when you're talking about TCW. Put some respect on it. And but
you got snubbed.
I do know, right? There was a guy there named whose character's name was Alex Strider, and I have no idea who the handler was. Have no recollection. Alex Strider was fucking good, but he was also really annoying good. Like you hated the fact that he was good. Alex Strider's in there. I think Blade, managed by Kent Robinson, would be there. I don't. If you know him, you know. If you know, you know. Stalker's in there because Justin, I got you, player. And for a shameless self-plug, Max Blackshear, because the man is sadistic. Continue.
I like it. All right. Fantasy dream good guy stable in e-wrestling.
All right. So babyface stable. That's going to be Scott Douglas.
Oh,
100%.
Yes.
See how I put over the home team.
The last
Fusion sound.
Hornet. Legit. Hornet.
Well, he always wins. Sorry to argue.
So now this team automatically already wins.
Another stable. Let's make it a trio. Babyface stable. Jesus.
Oh yeah, Jesus would be a good one.
Jesus, listen, if Jesus is not a baby face,
he's got to be the manager.
Scott Douglas, Hornet, and Jesus.
Here's the thing: Jesus does business. Jesus did the job, okay, but he also hulked up. Yeah, I just found the second episode ever that you're going to delete. Continue.
It's funny how like the last 4 I recorded, there's 2 deleted. All right, moving on. Up next. We're moving past Justin finally. Shout out to Justin. Thanks for the question, buddy.
Creepy.
You can't see it, but he's giving you the pound. I know you're still in the patron chat. You're not a patron. All right, moving on.
We see you, Justin. We see you.
At TW Combat, what do you feel is your biggest accomplishment in the hobby?
This is going to sound so stupid. My biggest accomplishment is meeting people that I'm still connected to 20 plus years later. It's That's fucking ridiculous.
Yeah.
But like my wife is blown away. Like legit, she's like, "Oh my god, like Jamar, are you gonna meet Jamar? When are you gonna meet Jamar?" And I'm like, "You can't get Jamar. Relax, okay? Jamar's taken. Relax. You're taken. Chill out. Relax. Sit down." But no, but legitimately, the people you meet and the relationships you build, and the fact that like Brian and I can connect after a year and a half of not talking to each other. And just sort of pick up and catch up and understand each other to a degree. Who understands Brian Wade?
Brian, cut your last name.
Who indeed?
But again, like to me, it's not the matches won; it's the friends made along the way.
There you go.
The more you know.
Love to see it, Christy. What do you feel is your biggest disappointment in the hobby?
Brian Wade.
This moment right now. This is the lowest moment.
All right, Brian, cut this entire interview.
My biggest disappointment at the times when I've disappointed other people, either by backing out or flaking out. It's happened numerous times, and every time sucks. And I just don't deserve to be on this podcast. I don't at all.
Hey, this podcast doesn't deserve to exist. So there's that.
The views and opinions of this podcast do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of the guest or the producer of the show. God damn it.
Efed Podcast.
All right. Up next from John Thompson. So you've heard of Sylvester Stallone. Just for those who haven't, he's the actor behind Rocky Balboa, Creed Collection, John Rambo, and Barney Ross from The Expendables. Now that that's out of the way, if Rocky, Rambo, and Barney Ross were all in their prime, which two would kick the shit out of you? I'm drunk.
Finally, a real question.
Now, let's get down to what really matters.
Finally, this is why I fucking dialed up.
The Efed Podcast tackles the real issues.
All right, Rambo./efedpodcast.com.
I've never seen The Expendables, so it really, for me, I eliminate Barney. It's going to come down to Rambo, who is a master of small and large arms, and also probably an assassin and really deadly with a blade. The question was at their prime, correct? At their prime, who would I take?
I'm too drunk to know.
That's a yes. All right, so I'm gonna go with Rambo. I'm gonna go with Rocky Balboa. I'm gonna go with Rocky Balboa, mostly because after he beats Rambo, Adrian will do the whole thing. It's a whole game.
Yes.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Rocky.
Thanks, Sean.
You just made the argument for gloved fists versus guns.
And knives. Yes, I did.
Listen,
I did.
don't bring boxing gloves to a knife fight. That's all I'm saying.
I know.
And also glue glass fists. Don't forget about those.
What Brian's really asking me is, isn't this still America, Paul? Guns first. Paul, isn't this kind of still America?
Thanks, Sean Thompson. Appreciate the question.
Thank you, John. TW Combat, former sponsor.
Nice.
Up next is MDG. It's Warren at Modern Day Gladiators. You have several characters listed. What separates them from one another as individual characters, and how much of each is you?
That's a great question. So Havoc was very much in a way. The Blackshear brothers, I was trying to tell a story. Not a ton that was me. Ice Tray, there was a lot of my goofy ass in that, and I know that's probably a horrible thing to admit. But like, I was the class clown in high school. Maybe that shocks you, maybe it doesn't. And that loud, boisterous attitude, and that Ice Tray, the goofiness was a lot of me. And you're all still clamoring for more. Continue.
Warren's just trying to figure out which character of yours he can co-opt into the next generation of Modern Day Gladiators, which you can catch on drive-through-rp.com.
RPG.com. Oh, shit.
And also, Mikey Unlikely is the newest character over at Modern Day Gladiators. Shout out to Warren.
Okay.
Great interview, great time, and obviously I appreciate my character making it into his game.
I've only known him for 20 years, and I'm not in it, but that's cool.
Hey, we played 2 or 3 times, and Mikey won most of the time. That's all I'm saying.
No, Warren's fantastic. Definitely check out that game.
I will. No, that sounds very cool. I'll have to definitely check it out.
Up next is Yelling at Zion. It's Lindsay Troy. Paul, I vaguely remember Max Blackshire in EPW, and I very obviously remember. I obviously remember Ice Tray. What made you decide to do the radio episodes with Ice Tray, and can we ever expect one again?
Like I said, the radio role plays, which I think I actually did 2 of them now that I really think about it. Lindsay sent me one of them. Lindsay saved one of them, which I think is hysterical.
It was blackmail material.
I did a handful. Right, exactly. Lindsay does nothing. Nothing is an accident with Lindsay. But yes, I think it was just boredom and trying to do something different. I knew that I had never seen an audio or heard an audio role play before. I've never seen anybody even try anything in that medium. And so I'm like, I'll just do it. There's no way that people aren't at least impressed by the attempt to do it. So that was really what did that. We also did in GXW, Chad Dupree and I did at least one episode of like a radio show hyping. I played the radio host and he was like the promoter hyping the next show. We did that a couple times. Will I ever do it again? No. Next question.
Long way to a short answer. I like that.
Mm-hmm.
Favorite feud with each character?
Jesus Christ. Havoc is 0. Andy blocks him for sure. Cyrus won his last match was against a wrestler named Smooth, who was the SCW champion. His handler's first name was Steve. I never knew Steve's last name, but Steve and I had a lot of great conversations. If there's any random way that the handler of Smooth in SCW is listening or watching this show, reach out to me because Steve is good fucking people. I would love to connect with him again. I tried emailing him on his old email and it's no, nothing. So that's like shit like that's kind of sad. The fact that I've tried multiple times is very sad.
It's kind of sad, yeah.
It's very, yeah. Max and Cyrus was the feud. As far as Ice Trey's feud with Triple X, Sean Stevens, and Jamar Short's character, 100%. Masked Violators, it's going to be the Bruvs.
It's got to be the Bruvs with more to tell.
The Bruvs.
The Bruvs. All right. Who was your favorite Fed head out of everyone and why?
Favorite Fed head. Oh boy.
Good question. We don't get that one often.
No, that's a really good one. Ed Burton, who ran Superior Championship Wrestling, SCW, was very fair. Jamar talked about how he was an older guy. He was like in his 30s, and we were like, what are you doing? 100%. He was this older dude with kids, but he was very fair. Ed Burton ended up going to either FWO or CWL and handled a wrestler whose name I can't remember, Superstar something. And I know that's not much to go on, boys, but get on that.
Billy Graham?
It wasn't Billy Graham. You fucking bastard. No, it was not Billy Graham, Brian. You knew that when you asked the question. You just chose to ask the question. But Ed was a great guy. Ed was a great guy. Brunk was a great Fed head because Jamar talked about it. He was very his communication was very clear, concise. He's a funny motherfucker. I miss interacting with him, and I'm off. We used to interact a little bit on Facebook, but I'm off Facebook because I don't do it. He's a stronger man than I
know.
But like he and I, what's funny about Brunk, I'll share this with you. Brunk, I remember I had a website. It was paulbrisbane.com. Please don't go back on archive.org, that website, because it's very embarrassing. I had all my role plays, and I talked about politics. And I remember when George Bush was reelected, I posted something on my blog about how stupid anybody was who voted for him was, right? And he messaged me like very upset and like, "Hey,
George Bush."
Like, no, Dave. No.
Oh.
So yes,
okay, yes,
George W.
So basically the same guy.
Dave W. Brunk messaged me like saying
calling him that forever from now on. Just so you know.
Please do. He messaged me in a sense. I don't remember what the content of the message was, but I remember being affected by the fact that this guy I respected and was a friend with was put off by my bullshit. And he was, and I learned I've grown a lot as a person. Not really.
No, you haven't.
But no, not at all. But Dave's a great guy. For me, it's Ed Burton, Dave Brunk, 100%. A long way to a short answer.
Long way to a short answer.
You'd be happy to know on the Wayback Machine, the majority of 54 captures of paulbrisbane.com, like Cantonese, like Chinese characters.
That's the greatest news I've gotten all day. The Chinese own me 100%. Awesome.
Just so it's in the video, so we have it.
If you're on Patreon right now, you're about to see Szechuan.
Are y'all see this? that's
amazing.
Cobras.com.
They got a hold of it.
Right. I love how you're like, you're going to love this. Paul, you're going to be happy to know that the Chinese own your domain name. Oh my God. That's fucking incredible. That's fucking incredible.
Here's the thing. They owned it in 2011. Doesn't seem like...
Yeah.
Well, you know what? I take that back. I'm sorry. I apologize. I don't mean to miss whatever, this, that, or other. Apparently...
It's Japanese.
It's Japanese. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh. Something wrong.
So it's not communist.
Wow.
Good to go.
Okay. Moving on. Moving forward. All right. This is going to only air on Patreon.com.
Right. And I want to point out that number one, you Patreon cocksuckers are getting every dollar worth. One. Number two. Every dollar's worth. Number two, I want to point out how incredible a producer is Brian. Give it up. Thank you.
Hey.
Unbelievable. Stop digging.
All right. Moving back to Lynn's.
Hey, Lynn.
Read the question.
Thanks,
Hey,
Brian.
Linz.
When are you going to join me, Brunk, and Jay in High Octane Wrestling? HOWrestling.com.
So it's funny you should mention that. So I kind of, since I agreed to be on this show just a week ago, I signed the contract, put ink to paper.
With the flare.
I actually kind of jumped back into the Discord a little bit, and I did see Lynn's put in the shill your stuff section a link to HOW. I did check it out. I got to go back and read the whole show. It's definitely really well written stuff, and it did have my attention. Will I do it? Well, I just don't know.
Hey, well, you know what? If you're back on Discord, I'll see her how and raise one. I'll make you alumni in Defiance.
Well, I don't even know what that means.
You can see the Discord.
I'll see your alumni and I'll raise you a roster spot in ClassicWrestling.com.
Guys, I can't handle this. I'm the prettiest girl in school.
Hold on. Making him alumni insinuates he has an open roster spot.
No, there's no open roster spots in Defiance.
Oh, there is for Paul.
Right.
See?
Listen, guys, please. One at a time, ladies. One at a time.
Hey, play it up. It's a bidding war.
I understand. Listen, I got to leverage one against the other, but who has the time?
Listen, you know I have a Patreon.com/Efed Podcast.
Boy, do I.
We know I have that same thing. So
all right, Brian, let's see if you can hijack Linz's last question.
Let's do it.
If you decide to come back to Efedding, would you make a brand new character or would you go back to an old faithful, and why?
That's a good question. I think if I were to do it, I don't know. For me, everything is situational. I'm in many ways, I'm very impulsive. And I think when I jump back into shit, it's often an impulse, which is why it often leads to trouble because I don't have the time. But if I were to choose to do it, I would make sure I had the time to do it. And would I make a new character? I might not. Lindsay, I got no question for you, girl. Come on.
Lindsay, I didn't hijack your last question. But more about me.
Yeah, really. Let's talk about me.
Enough about you. All right, anyway. Thanks, Linz, for the questions. I really appreciate it. I'm sure Paul does too.
Yes. No, I do. I'm a big Lindsay Troy fan. The character itself, you have to respect the fact that it's a woman character who not only became legitimate, it's a woman handler who became legitimate. And not just legitimate, but carries her own.
One of the few women characters with a women handler.
Honestly, certainly I've encountered.
Especially at that level.
Yeah. No, but let's be honest. Probably the top character handler combination of the female variety in e-wrestling.
Without question.
And number one on the top 100 Efed Podcast countdown.
Hey. Which you can only find at
Efed Podcast.
.com.
/ top 100. All right, here we go. Up next is at Dan Ryan's Protein Shake. It's Brunk.
Mm.
All right, completely.
Oh my God! I want to say first. His questions for Jamar were fucking hysterical. I have high expectations here. I have very high expectations. But I also know he's not going to let me down. Go ahead, hit me.
All right, question one, completely hypothetical. If you are coaching a football game and there's under a minute left, you're at the 2-yard line, 2 timeouts left, and a touchdown wins the game. Which passing play do you call?
It's going to be a short slant across the middle.
Short slant to the right side.
Right. Thanks, Brunk. Great question. I appreciate your friendship a great deal.
Love you, Brunk. Appreciate that. Brian has no idea what we're talking about.
I don't get it.
Soccer. It's soccer. It's fun.
It's soccer. It's hashtag beast mode. Okay, moving on.
Yeast mode.
Thanks, Brunk.
I believe I met you in the Fed where Cyrus Blackshire died in the ring.
Ooh.
In an unrelated question, what is your favorite Beatles song?
Is that Brunk too?
Mm-hmm.
Is that Brunk too? Yes, I actually did. Yes, Dan Ryan. That is where we first interacted. What is my favorite Beatles song? I don't have a favorite Beatles song. That's a trap. That's a trick question, and there is no answer because every song is goddamn incredible.
There you go. What is the best Stewart's ice cream flavor? Also from Brunk.
Dude, Stewart's ice cream. Okay. You've had some Stewart's ice cream? So he's referring to the company I've worked for years. The best Stewart's ice cream flavor is chocolate peanut butter cup. And because we just get it right, man. We get it fucking right every time. It's the perfect balance between chocolate and peanut butter. It's a ribbon of peanut butter, guys. It's chocolate and it's a ribbon of peanut butter. And it's going to, once you get it in you, it stays in you. But it doesn't stay in you. Because that wouldn't be good. Continue.
All right. Finally from Brunk. And last, more of a statement than a question. Come back to e-fetting. That is all.
Oh, it's too sweet. That's very sweet. No.
Too sweet, me, bro.
Reverse click.
All right.
Oh, the Patreon is just benefiting.
They are. They're loving this right now. Finally, but not leastly, we got some surprise questions.
Ooh.
Jamar Short on the Twitter machine in the DMs at that.
Oh, shit. He slid right in.
I hope it's not too late. I have some questions for Paul. He's got 4.
Whoa.
Are you ready? 4. Who's your favorite character? Why?
Of mine or like clarify, Jamar? Can we call him?
Let's give it a shot. I tried on the Bandits episode to call 40 people and no one answered. So let's try.
Hey,
Jamar, you've been added to the call.
This is a good call to make.
Is he there?
It's calling.
I want to know if he.
Jamal Short is unavailable.
Okay. All right, no problem. So I'll answer both questions. My favorite character of mine is Havoc because that's the one I started with. There's a love there. My favorite character of somebody else's. This is going to be a weird answer. If you were in Superior Championship Wrestling, SCW, there was a guy who showed up, and there was this era in SCW where people would make debuts wearing masks. We made a debut wearing a mask. It was a thing. It became a gimmick where everyone wore a mask, right? And this guy showed up. He was Mystery Man number 438. I never figured out who this guy was, but he beat a lot of great role players in SCW. Don't ask me who they were, but like it was a lot of like really solid guys because he was fucking good. And he and we did a tag team thing against each other, and nobody ever knew. in our circle, in our group, nobody ever knew who he was. And I would love to know if that was somebody who was like just trying to do something on the slide, because that was also a thing in that period where I'm going to try to go incognito and try to fly under the radar, you know. But yeah, I don't know. Mystery Man 438 digits.
Number 2 from Jamar. Which feud did you enjoy more? Cyrus Blackshire versus Max or Havoc versus Zero?
Havoc and Zero. Because I felt like we were treading new ground for our circle, at least, in really finding a personal feud, a reason for it to be personal. Everything else was just, hey, here's a match. I beat you, you beat me. Here, we're going to keep feuding. We did something where stole his girlfriend. There was a personal, we were able to make it really like a visceral hatred for each other. And that's it's Havoc and Zero for me, for sure. Good question for me.
Yeah, easy answer, apparently.
That's right.
Question 3. Could you fathom ever coming back to FW?
These sons of bitches. Is that Justin Putron masquerading as both Dave Brunk and Jamar Short in the same day? I don't know.
If so, hold on. 3A. If and when you do, how excited are you to work with me again?
Hey.
That's a good question. He just made that question better. He knows. The answer is if I'm with Jamar, anything can happen.
That's right. And you're all in.
Yep. Listen, I love that guy, and he and I together, you could say it's magic. So yeah, totally. You never know.
Oh, it's magic. Okay. Number 4.
That's it.
How did it feel when Dre Greenlaw stopped that Seahawks player on the 1-yard line? The 49ers, the NFC West champs, the season before last.
Oh, the season before last. Oh, that season? Are we still talking about that season?
Not last season.
No, not last season. The season before last.
Not practice. Not a game. Not a game.
No.
We talking about practice?
We're talking about practice?
We talking about practice?
About 2 seasons ago, just like how they're talking about.
We talking about practice?
I'm supposed to be a franchise player, and y'all talking about practice.
They're talking about practice.
How long? Crack. No. Do I think about it? Is that the question? Do I think about that moment? No, I don't think about that moment. The fact that you're thinking about that moment is adorable. I know you love that word. The fact that you're thinking about that is adorable. Continue.
That's what we got. Thank you so much for joining us, Paul. That's the questions we got for the Efed Podcast. Brian, you got anything else to follow up on?
I don't have any questions, but what I will say is, for a man as astute and creative and incredible as Mr. Brisbane here, what I would really up the ante for this current bidding war, what I would throw out there is, not only am I offering the alumni spot in the old Discord here, but more importantly, what I am offering.
Don't you dare.
Is I wasn't going to until you said that, but it's Mikey's belt. But no.
I'm in. I don't even know what
Fuck you both. This is the end of the Efed Podcast. Thanks for joining us.
That's an easy gig, because I'm about to take it from a DEF CON. But anyhow, what I was gonna say is, like, hey, no commitment.
Hey,
as you were doing it briefly for a moment before me and Tom fully took over, if ever you want to come back in with Nigel or whoever and like just pop in, do little stuff, you let me know. I'll give you the go. I'll give you the logins. Do your thing.
No, dude, I appreciate that. And I have logged in a couple times, and I'm always like, someone's gonna see me logging in. Someone's gonna see me logging in. Justin's gonna see me. He's gonna see me. That motherfucker's gonna see me logging in. He's gonna be like, "When you joining, dude? You coming back? I know you coming back. I knew you coming back.
Where you at? When'd you need it?
Hey, check this out. Check this out.
Hey, what was it? 4 years ago, he said the whole cabal was a joke. The reverse
cabal.
click.
That's fucking real. We made that up in a bullshit chat.
He made it a fucking thing.
And I
And you
hear
know
it's
Brian's son,
like
and he
doing it.
says, "Hey."
It's doing numbers, though. No, I hear the Cabal's doing numbers, so that makes me proud. Will I come back, Brian? Obviously, I know my you haven't revoked my admin or password privileges just yet.
Hey.
So I do know my way. I do know my way in the back door, as they say on the streets. And if the opportunity presents itself, if the time is right, I might take Justin up on his offer.
Don't come on, don't lead him on like that. That's
my mind.
Oh man,
You just screwed the next 5 years of your life.
hey, he knows how to reach you. You just gave him some.
Yeah, guys, I'll be right back. Somebody's at my door.
All right. That's going to wrap us up for the Efed Podcast. Paul, thanks so much for joining us, buddy. This was a blast. Before we go, anything else you want to plug, promote, put over?
No, not at all. Not at all. I think I've done enough damage tonight. I look forward to seeing how Brian makes a show out of this.
It's going to be a blast. I'm excited to see how the Patreon reaction is to the first video interaction we've had.
Which, by the way, my idea to give the Patreon viewers a little bit something extra. I'm not looking for any monetary compensation.
We are.
I'm absolutely looking for some monetary compensation.
I'm not looking for
So
it, but if it's there, if it's offered, hey,
Listen, for all of you tuning in tonight on this Efed Podcast episode, what is it, 66? 67? It's out of fucking control. Enough already. Thank you for tuning in. For Brian, for Mikey, we are out of here.
Where the wrestling is written.
That's right.
But the characters are real.
All right, guys, that was a blast. I want to thank Paul for taking the time to come on the show. I know he's tired from wrestling, and he took the time to come in, talk about his time in wrestling, and maybe get that itch back. So I'm excited to see it. Hopefully he comes back soon. And in the meantime, I hope everybody else listening enjoyed the episode.
100%. Paul was a great interview. Paul's a great guy. Always a fun time. And just, as a follow-up to, what you heard on the interview, Paul did accept my invite to the Defiance Discord as an alumni. So there's that.
He's got the itch or something going, so we're happy to see that. All right, guys, that's going to wrap us up for another edition of the Efed Podcast. I want to thank our sponsors. I want to thank our patrons for supporting us as always. We just did a really fun thing last Friday where we all sat down and talked and went over some fun wrestling questions. We also recently put up the Egg Bandits exclusive episode over on patreon.com/Efed Podcast.
Illicit and exclusive.
Illicit and exclusive. And finally, but not leastly, Paul Briz, the video edition. We're going to be putting it up on patreon.com/Efed Podcast.
Breaking new ground over here. The train is rolling. You should get on board.
That's right. Patreon.com/Efed
Podcast.
All right, guys. Thanks for listening to this week's show. We really appreciate it. For Brian, I'm Mikey. You're listening to the Efed Podcast, where the wrestling is written, but the characters are real.
You've been listening to the Efed Podcast, only on the Atomic Jobcast Network, presented commercial free on Patreon.